Hello, kiddies from Rodine School for Girls there in Johannesburg Parktown. I'm very familiar with your school, you know. I attended the small stone school across the road for 12 years, many years ago. So you're most welcome, Mrs. van der Merwe's class, I believe, and Mrs. Gonsalves or something like that. It's great to have you with us. And please send us your questions. I'm not looking at you because the beautiful African sun is now in my eyes. It's very difficult to see. So please send us your questions and ask us anything you like during the next little while, and we'll tell you about what we're seeing. And a very special welcome to my cousin Grace. Hello, Gracie. I hope you're having a good time at school today. And, of course, to the daughter of the father of Safari Live, Graham Wallington, your daughter Mia. Hello, Mia. Lovely to see you. We've definitely met many times, and it's good to have you with us. We're going to sneak forward now, everybody. There's a hyena on the road, like you saw. And we're going to go around the corner. There's a den site there. There's a little termite mound in which many hyenas have been living. We don't know if they're there now, so you're going to discover that with us. Let's go a little bit forward. This hyena is definitely going to move. And you'll see, we just don't want to give him too much of a fright, so we're going to move very, very slowly forward. And we'll go around the corner and see if the baby hyenas, there were some tiny babies, only this big, in that den site just a few days ago. So let's go and have a look. It's so good to be talking to kids from Johannesburg. You know, we do lots of talks for kids or game drives for kids in America, but it's really lovely to do it for some South Africans. This hyena hasn't moved at all. It's quite a chilly morning. I don't think he wants to move, but he doesn't have to move. This is interesting. So if we don't make too much noise, maybe he will stay. So don't make any noise where you're sitting now. Hold your breath as we go past. I'm actually just going to stop here for a little while because it's so nice to have a hyena so close by. Everyone, he's only about 1 meter from the vehicle. Oh, there are lots of hyenas now. Look in front of us there, just over there, walking through the bush, including a little one. Now, that's not the very little one, but it is one of the little ones that we see here quite regularly. That's really nice to see. And this one is still right here. Good morning. Looks like a young male. And it's very difficult to tell which one's a male and female with hyenas because the females are bigger than the males. Isn't that special? I don't know how many of you have gone to the Kruger National Park before. I'm sure many of you have travelled with your family to the Kruger. And we are in the middle of the Kruger National Park. Isn't that nice? There we go. Just walking behind the car. My name is James, by the way. I'm sure Gracie would have told you that. And on camera today we have Viam. And on the other vehicle, a very giraffe-like man called Brent Leo Smith, and he's searching for cats not too far from where we are now. Let's head across to him. I think he may have found a cat.
A big welcome to Rodine and to Gracie and Mia. Of course, we are sitting here in a little riverbed, and we've got a big surprise for you. So, are you ready, Dave? Now, oh, quickly, he looks like he's on the move. Not really. He's got a full belly. He's got a warthog in the tree. But look at this. It's a big male leopard. Now, it's always amazes me how they like that. And I don't think he's going to last too long sleeping on his arm like that. Here we go. So this is a big male leopard. His name is Mvula. Now, I hope you girls are ready to ask us lots of questions, and I might ask you guys a question or two as well. And he's trying to get comfortable. Oh, isn't that beautiful? So he's eaten half a young warthog already, and he's put it in the tree next to him. We will show you the warthog just now. I just think he's going to move, and we might get a nice visual of his head in a second. I don't think he's going to manage to last being comfortable in that position. But they always astound us. No, he's just moving too much. So I know Mia knows exactly where we are, but if any of the other girls there don't know where we are, we're in the Sabi Sands Game Reserve. And it's famous for these cats. It's probably one of the best places in the world to see leopard. Isn't this amazing? We're sitting a few meters away from a very big male leopard. Oh, there he is. Oh, yes. I was waiting for that. I didn't think he was going to be too comfortable the way he was. Now, he's an old boy. Probably between 11 and 13 years old. And he's got to the stage now where he's not the big boss around here anymore. So he's sort of in retirement. And what that means is he's going to sneak around trying to avoid the other male leopards. So he doesn't have his own territory anymore. He wanders all over the place. That is absolutely exquisite. Now, while he snoozes, just down the tree from him, to the left, is his dinner. Our leopards are quite clever because they manage to keep their dinner for a while. So they put it up in the tree to keep it away from lions and hyenas. And there we go, you can see it's a young warthog. And I wonder if it's part of that warthog family we saw a little bit earlier before you guys joined us. Seldom catch warthogs. It's male leopards that normally do that. Now, I know you guys are studying habitat at the moment, and we're sitting in ideal leopard habitat. So we're on the edge of a little dry river system where there are lots of big, beautiful evergreen trees like this leopard is lying in. This tree is actually called a scotia, or a weeping boerbean. And I'm going to ask Dave to come out wide, and we're going to show you the habitat. And this is a very, very, very common spot to find leopards, is on the edge of these little rivers. So you can see through that gap there, that's where the river bed is, and we're in the riverine thickets that occur on the edge. So it's a thick area, generally with nice big trees, and you can see there's a little Tamboti grove over there. And not only, I've spotted something else. This is not only good leopard habitat, but it's good for lots of other animals. And I think this warthog actually lived in that big termite mound that Dave was just showing you. So we zoom in a little bit to the right there, Dave. There we go. You can see behind that fallen stick is an old hole that was probably dug by an aardvark. Now, warthogs take over these, and that's where they live. So I think this poor warthog probably got caught on his way home last night and happened to find a leopard waiting. So, I'm Brent, and we've got our first question from Kada. Hi, Kada. Kada would like to know, why do leopards like hiding in trees and in mountains? Well, in this area, the leopards use the trees to make sure they can stay away from lions and hyenas. So leopards will put their food in the tree to make sure no one else can steal it. Now, in the mountains, they don't really hide in the mountains as such, but they live in very steep areas, and that's mainly because people have pushed them there. So leopards would have preferred to be outside of the high mountains originally, but now with all the farmers and everything there, farmers don't like leopards. They tend to eat their cows. So that's why they tend to be high up in the mountains. But in the bush, they actually spend most of their time on the ground. It's only when they've got to kill, and that's when they go into the tree. Sorry, I've just got to be on the game drive radio with the other game drive. Yeah, Pete, just make your way straight in. It's just me here. Now, he's having a nice snooze, and Virginia, hello Virginia, welcome on the live safari this morning. Virginia would like to know, why do leopards have spots? Well, Virginia, it's to help with their camouflage. It breaks their outline. It makes it easier for them to hide when they're trying to catch different animals. So it helps to make them, just think, if they were pure white, they'd be easy to see, even if they were pure yellow. So what that does is it acts like shade almost to break up their outline. We're going to sit here, and hopefully this big male leopard is going to get up and walk to his kill. And while we wait for him to do that, let's go see what James is up to.
You're so lucky, everybody. Isn't that special? A big male leopard to start off your drive. I think that's just the best thing in the world. But close second to the best thing in the world is a little baby hyena. Now, this is the mother hyena, and she is sitting inside this very big termite mound. You can see a hole there, dug by an animal called an aardvark. I think you should all try and say aardvark. You ready? And when I count to 3, you're all going to say aardvark. 1, 2, 3, aardvark. And it basically means earth pig. And the earth pig or ant bear would have dug that hole to get the termites that were living in this termite mound. And that was a long time ago. And then this hyena female would have come, and she's given birth to 2 little babies. But now you can see that she can smell something. You can see her nose is very big, and it's moving in the wind, and the wind is coming closer. You can see her nose working there. She can smell something on the wind there. And Mia, hello Mia, nice to hear from you. We'll wait a little bit to see if that hyena mother comes back out again. She smelled something I think she thinks is dangerous on the wind as the wind started to blow. Mia, you want to know why hyenas have such strong teeth? Well, Mia, you know that if you have a chop on the braai or maybe a piece of chicken, the hardest bit to get through, of course, is the bone. And much of the time we throw the bones away from the meals that we eat. And in a hyena's case, they don't throw the bones away. They bite through the bones. And inside the bone, you may notice that sometimes if you have like a lamb stew, for example, delicious lamb stew, and when it's cold in Johannesburg in the winter, I'm sure that you do have lamb stew every so often. In the middle of the bone, there is a piece of fat. And that fatty stuff in the middle of the bone is called the marrow. And it's really good food. It's really good nutrition. And only the hyenas have got teeth and jaws strong enough to bite through a big heavy bone like a buffalo bone or a giraffe bone and get to that marrow. And that's why they've got such very strong teeth. Let's wait another 2 minutes here. Oh, there she's coming out. She's coming out. Just see her nose. And can you see the wind blowing? You can hear it blowing, and you can just see a few leaves blowing past, and with every breath of wind, a sensitive nose like that hyena's will pick up lots of different smells. Now, our noses are not very good. I know that sometimes you smell something unpleasant or something nice, but imagine that horrible smell that you smell, all those very nice smells that you smell, multiplied by 10 or 20 times, so they're that much stronger. And so every time the wind blows, that hyena is smelling changes completely. And that's why she looks, and her nose is twitching constantly, like those ears. See her ears also listening? Maybe listening to the little babies. I'm hoping they're going to come out, but you know what? The rest of the hyenas have moved off from here. They went off down there. There was an impala shouting through there. I don't know, maybe there's some lions around here, maybe another leopard. But the hyenas are now the little ones have gone inside and the others have disappeared off. So I think we're going to move on from here and see what else we can find. So very lucky we were to have that leopard. So let's carry on here and see what else we can find. Now the rest of the clan of hyenas belong in a clan. And a clan is like a family, but it's a big family dominated by females, unlike most of the mammals out here, where the males are much bigger, the females are much bigger here, and they are the dominant ones. That means that they're the bosses. They boss all the males around. The males have to do what they say. So I'm sure you'll think that's a very good idea where you are sitting. And it probably is a good idea because they're very successful animals. And in this clan, there are probably about, we think there are about 20 animals in total. Lots of little ones. And at the moment, those are the two newest ones. They're only about 2 weeks old. Then we've got some that were born in January, some that were born in December last year, some that were born in June last year, and some that were born in February last year. So it's quite a young clan of hyenas, all led by a very big female who, guess what we call her? We call her the same thing that you call your teacher. We call her Madam. And Madam, much like your Madam, is fully in charge of the whole hyena clan. So we're just going to drive out here and see if we can't maybe see Madam. But I think the hyenas have gone into this area here where we're not allowed to drive because it's too thick with bushes. And there are also many, many steep hills. The car can't go up and down. Now, I don't see anything else going on in here, but we might be lucky. Liam and I came driving through here when you were looking at the leopard. We came driving through here and we heard an impala making alarm calls. Now, I'm pretty sure that all of you know what an impala is. I'm pretty sure that all of you have been to the bush at some stage, either to the Waterberg or maybe to the Kruger, and the impala makes a noise that I want you also to make. When it sees a predator, like a hyena or a leopard or a lion, it goes and then the hyena or the lion knows that it's seen, and they normally sort of slink away. It's the impala saying, I see you, I know that you want to eat me, but go away because I'm very fast. There's the impala, and he's still actually looking in this direction. But he's not making his noise anymore. You can see he's on his own. And an impala, of course, survives by being in a group. And somehow, this impala has managed to lose the rest of his group, so I don't know where they are. That means he's on his own, and an impala on his own is very, very vulnerable indeed. Vulnerable means that because he doesn't have the other eyes and ears and noses of all the impala in his herd, he's only got his own eyes to rely on, and that's quite dangerous if you happen to be an impala size, because we know that lions and leopards and wild dogs and hyenas and cheetahs all like to eat impala. And he's close to the hyena den, but he won't be worried about them at this time of the day. You know, they like to hunt in the night time, and they're also not nearly as fast as an impala, so if he sees them coming, he won't be worried. And that's why they alarm call at the predators when they see them, to say, I see you, don't come any closer. Let's go around the corner here and see what else we might be able to see. Hello, Nua. What a very good question you ask. You say, Brent and I scared out here. No, Nua, we're not scared, but that's because we are experienced here. So, yes, sometimes when we're walking on foot, we have to be very careful. And when we see elephants, then we are very careful, and we can get nervous sometimes, but we don't live here in fear. But that's just because we know what's going on. So you saw Brent there, who's sitting with a big male leopard, and you know that leopards are predators. We also know that hyenas are predators. But because we know that they're not going to jump into the car, and they don't jump into the car because they don't see us as something to eat, it means that we're not scared. So because we spend a lot of time around the elephants and the buffalo and all the other big animals out here, we get used to their behavior, and so we're not that nervous anymore. Sometimes we can get nervous, but you know how sometimes you can even get nervous at school. Maybe you get into a situation where you know you're in trouble, for example. If you've done something naughty, you've got yourself into trouble, and then you get nervous. Well, it's the same thing out here. If we do something silly, like we get too close to an animal, yes, then we can get nervous too. But in the same way that you know what's going to get you into trouble, so because we have experience here, we know what's going to get us into trouble, and so we just generally try and avoid doing things like that, because we don't like to be nervous. It's horrible to be scared. Hello, Mia Top, that's a lovely name. You want to know how long those hyenas live for? Well, you know, not very long. In the same way that your domestic dog at home or your kitty, they don't live very long, do they? And so hyenas don't live too long either, probably only about 12 or 13 years. If they're in captivity where they've got lots to eat and there's not so much danger around, then they might live for 15 or 16 years. But out here, probably only 12 or 13 years, so not very long at all. That's a good question. So those young hyenas that we saw walking off there, which are probably only, I think those were the ones born in December last year, or no, maybe the November ones. They were born in November last year, and so they are now, if we calculate, December, January, March, April, May, June, July. So they're only just over 6 months old. And they are the equivalent, let's say, of a 6-month-old, probably about the same as a sort of 7 or 8-year-old human being, so same as you. So they get much older much quicker than we do as human beings. Let's go down this road here. There's a nice water hole. Georgia, you're obviously very, very clever, or you're interested in animals. Georgia, you say, what kind or what time of year do hyenas have babies? Georgia, they don't have a specific time of year. So remember, I've just said to you that we had some born in February last year, June last year, November last year, December last year, January this year, and now new ones in June this year. So there's no real time of year for hyenas. The animals that have a time of year to have babies are normally the herbivores. And I'm sure you all know what a herbivore is. That's an animal that eats only grass or leaves or vegetables. And they give birth normally during the rainy season. And because there's lots of food to eat. What have you got there? Viam's found us a very special little creature. Look, everybody. He's a caterpillar. Now, many of you will think, ugh, a caterpillar. But you know, I don't know how many of you keep silkworms. I don't know if people still keep silkworms. But a caterpillar is just the same as a silkworm. Now, while we're watching him, everyone, I want you to count his legs. How many legs do you think he has? See if you can count them. He's walking up my hand. How many legs does he have? Send your answers in quickly and we'll give you an answer. Because I promise you he's got far fewer legs than you think he has. Oh, he's climbing into a big forest of hares there. I think we should take him out of that forest. And I'll just turn him over so that you can see his legs. Can you see that? There we are. Isn't that nice? I can hear something moving in the bushes up ahead. Tell us how many legs you think he has, and then I'll try and keep him, and I'll show you. Something's moving in the bushes here. I think it may be a grey go-away bird, which, as you know, you will find in your garden in Johannesburg. I've definitely seen them when I've been having lunch with Gracie. They've stopped moving now. And Hannah, you say, do the hyenas dig their own holes? Hannah, they don't. They do modify them though, so they make them bigger, but they don't start the holes. Those are started by the aardvark or the ant bear. And then when the little ones are born, they dig open, or they dig the back of the hole open. George, I just want to finish answering your question because it is a nice question to go with Hannah's. So when the babies are born, it's normally 2 babies, 1 or 2, very seldom more than that. Then they dig as soon as they're born. You know, they're born with their eyes open, they're born with teeth, unlike a domestic dog and domestic cat, all of which are born with their eyes shut and they're totally helpless and blind. A hyena isn't like that. So they dig immediately when they're born, and they sort of modify the hole, make it a bit better for what they want to do in it. So I'm still holding my caterpillar here, so send us your answers to how many legs you think it's got. And while you're thinking about that, let's go across to Brent, who looks like a giraffe, and he's got an animal that looks the same.
We've left that male leopard who's in the habitat around the riverbed. Now we've moved out to a slightly different habitat, and in different habitats you have different animals. So it's very unlikely we're ever going to find a giraffe down in the river unless they're just crossing it. But a giraffe out here on the edge of a seep line where we've got different types of trees that giraffe like to eat. Now here we've got a very big old giraffe bull. Now if we look carefully at his head, he actually's got an old injury, and that was probably from fighting. And now you can see he's chewing, he's got some food in his mouth, but that's not food he's eaten right now. So a giraffe is a ruminant, and if we watch carefully, we'll watch him swallow, and then he'll bring up food again from his tummy. So what he does is he makes sure he gets all the good stuff out of the plant. So he eats it more than once, but well, he looks like he might start feeding, or is he going to wander off? Now, a giraffe's favorite food is an acacia tree. Hello, Aurora, at least, and he weighs about the same as 3 big 4x4 trucks, and about 6,000 kilograms. Well, we're going to go see if we can find you some elephants after we leave this giraffe, and we will be looking at the different habitats that we pass through. So I'm going to let the giraffe munch away, and what we have here is sort of the edge of a seep line. Now this is a very important habitat because it's got good grass species on it, and a lot of animals like grass. So if we swing off to the right slightly, please, there, slowly, there we go. You see it's a little bit more open than thick woodland, and you see there's lots of grass in between everywhere. Now the reason is this, that there's water traveling under the ground towards the river system, and the grass species like more water than the trees. That's why you have less trees here. And certain tree species like deep water and not shallow water. So their root systems will struggle to get all the way through because a lot of their root systems are very deep, and the trees you generally find around here have slightly shallower root systems. Well, we're going to move on. I did see some elephants earlier this morning, so I think I'm going to go have a look if we can find them again. Now, one must remember, habitat is quite an important word out here in the bush. Habitat doesn't have to be a big thing like that. You can have a habitat in a dead tree, just like this one here. that's been pushed over by elephants. Now let's have a closer look at that. So now this is a habitat in itself. So you don't need to be a big thing to be a habitat. A termite mound is a habitat. A dead log is a habitat. So in a dead log like this, you've got to be always careful when you're poking around in dead logs, because it's the habitat for scorpions and spiders and beetles and bugs, and quite a few of those are able to bite you. I'm just having a quick look to see if I can find a scorpion. But no scorpions today, but I don't want to put my hands too deep in there. But a habitat can even be a very small thing, like a dead log. And different animals obviously use different habitats. So it's very important that we look after all habitats. Hello, Cheetah. We just saw that magnificent big male giraffe, and Cheetah's wondering, how many bones does a giraffe have in its neck? Now, Cheetah, that's a very good question, because with a giraffe having a big neck like that, it looks like he must have to have lots. He doesn't. He's got the exact same amount as you, and it's 7. Okay, so a giraffe has 7 vertebra or vertebra bones in its neck. Now, you guys are asking such wonderful questions. I'm going to give you a little quiz. So, you guys out there, we've seen some incredible animals so far, but if you've heard of the Big 5, now those are the animals when people come on safari they really want to see. So, who at Rodin can tell me what 5 animals make up Africa's Big 5? So, why don't you let me know if anyone's smart enough. Mia, I know you know the answer, so let everyone else have a chance. Hello, Tumelo. Tumelo would like to know why a giraffe has a long neck. So it didn't always have a long neck, so it's something that's developed over many thousands or hundreds of thousands, millions of years. Now, the reason all animals develop a special quality is for 2 reasons only. It's for competition for food or competition for girlfriends. And so the reason a giraffe has a long neck, it's so he can get more girlfriends. And the reason for that is that the giraffes with the longest necks are the strongest and are able to swing their neck in a fight and hit the other male giraffe so he can get all the ladies that are around. So a lot of people, and for a long time it was thought that the giraffes got their long neck so they could get to other food, but it seems like the evolutionary advantage of that is not as high as it is for getting girlfriends. So giraffes have a long neck to get girlfriends, and also it helps them to eat leaves that other animals can't get to. Amy, that is a very good question. Why does a giraffe have spots? Now, with the leopard, spots are there for it to remain hidden. So you probably find giraffe spots are there for the same reason. Although, as they've evolved and become bigger, those spots have become less and less useful. So it's probably just a leftover evolutionary trait, but it would be there to break up the outline so it's harder to see them, or harder for the lions to see them. But because they're so big and so tall, it changes a little bit. But another very big advantage of that giraffe's long neck is he's so tall he can often see the lions long before they get close to him. Okay, now I'm going to try to find those elephants again. There were lots of them just over there, so we're going to loop round and down into that area, and hopefully we find you some ellies shortly. Now, ellies are very important in the habitat. So elephants are one of the animals out here that change the habitat. So we're going through a drought at the moment, and the elephants are knocking down more trees than they normally would. Now, that's not a bad thing. So what happens is the elephants will create more open areas for more grass, and a lot more animals eat grass than trees. So it's always a good thing. And nature's a big system, and the habitats will change over time. And elephants are one of the animals that are able to change their habitat. So in a normal year, when there's a lot of rain and lots of grass, during summer, the elephants will 80% of what they eat will be grass and only 20% trees. During winter, it swaps around, and 20% of what they eat will be grass and 80% trees. But because we're in a drought now, you probably find the figure on trees for the summer was much, much higher. They maybe even ate as much as 50% trees during the summer, or maybe even a little bit more. And during the winter now, they're almost exclusively eating trees. Hi, Masana. Masana wants to know why giraffes have black tongues. Masana, I honestly don't know the answer to that. So that's a very good question. You've stumped me on the spot. Maybe James has an idea, but I can't think of any ideas. So the color that makes dark colors, there's a little thing in the genetics called melanin. And I can't think of any reason why, other than just because. Most animals actually have dark tongues, and impala and lots of the other animals, and I can't think of any particular reason for it. Maybe James has an idea. It's always amazing how an animal the size of an elephant can disappear so quickly. But there was a very big herd, so I'm hoping we'll catch up with them in not too long. Well done, Kiara. She got the question right. Africa's big five is lion, elephant, leopard, rhino, and buffalo. So far, we've seen one member of Africa's big five, and I'm on the hunt for another to show you. Now, let's go see if we can find some elephants. While we do that, let's go see what Jamesy's up to on the other car.
You won't believe it, everybody, but look what we've come to see. Under the shade of that tree there is a tiny, tiny little baby leopard cub. See? Just moving there. We're a long way away. We're not going to get any closer because this little leopard cub's mum is not around, so we don't want to make her afraid. We've just come to see if the mum is here, and that is a little female leopard. And we saw her brother earlier this morning while you were still driving to school. And her brother was in a tree close by, and he doesn't seem to be here anymore. I think he's probably moved closer to her, or he's lying in the sun somewhere nearby. Isn't that sweet? She's only 4 months old, everyone. Hello, Vuyiswa. You ask a very good question about how we tell if that's a male or a female. It's only because we know her. She's got, and we can tell the difference at this distance because she's got very brown eyes, and her brother's got much bluer eyes, and that's how we tell the difference between these two. But otherwise, you have to look behind their tails in the same way that you do with a dog or a cat, and that's how you tell if they're male or female. And you see how beautifully hidden she is. She's now sleeping. She's very tired. Just like lots of little babies, they're very tired. And Malika, you're interested in how many babies a leopard can have at one time. Well, you know, it's supposed to be up to 6, but that very seldom happens. It's normally 2 or 3, and normally 2 is the best because that's what the kind of ideal number for a mummy leopard to be able to look after. Because it's difficult to feed a leopard in these conditions. I'm going to sneak a little bit forward now, and we'll just see if we can't catch sight of the other one. Now, I have named these 2 leopards George and Charlotte after the 2 royal prince and, or the royal prince and the royal princess. Those are not their real names, of course, but that's how I refer to them. simply because I think it's quite fun to give them names like that. So that's Charlotte we're looking at sitting on the top of the tree there, at least the termite mound. And you can see how these termite mounds are very important parts of the bush here, because we've seen the hyenas in a termite mound as well. And I'm just going to stop up here and see if we can't get a slightly better view of Charlotte there on the mound. And also maybe the mum will come back, and then we can go a bit closer. But we must be very careful not to frighten any of the animals out here. And when they're little and on their own and without their mothers, well, it's very easy to frighten them. So there you can just see her looking at you. And I'm going to keep scanning the area with my binoculars to see if I can see any of the other leopards. So it's George and Charlotte and their mum, whose name is Karula, and she's 12 years old. Now that, remember, we were talking about the ages of the hyenas. 12-year-old is pretty old, you know. It's about the same as about a 50-year-old human. My son, a nice one from you, of course, because you know that spotted cats come in different kinds, don't you? You want to know the difference between a spotted leopard and a spotted cheetah. Well, my son, if you've seen one and you've seen the other, you would never mistake one for the other. The biggest difference, of course, and I'm afraid we can't see it too closely here because we're not very close by, the biggest difference is that a cheetah has got spots where a leopard has got rosettes. Now what rosettes means is little groups of spots that make a circle, and inside the circle is a little bit of gold. And that's what leopards have got. Cheetahs don't have the same thing, they've just got plain spots. A cheetah is also, we're going to leave this little leopard here, everyone, and we'll just drive around and see if mum isn't close by. But my son, they're built completely differently. So you will know that some people are tall and lanky, like Brent Leo Smith, who you just met, who looks a little bit like a giraffe, and other people are short and strong. And a leopard is like a short, strong person, and a cheetah is like Brent, where they are long and lanky and able to run very fast, but they're not able to, they can't pull something like a leopard can pull its own weight up into a tree. And so they're much stronger. But the colors are very similar. A leopard is a bit taller. What have you got there? Ooh, white-crowned shrike. You haven't spotted a very beautiful bird for us. It's called a white-crowned shrike, everybody. Isn't he lovely? You won't find him in your garden in Johannesburg, I'm afraid. Isn't that nice? And he's just standing there trying to stay warm, because although the sun's out, it's quite chilly here. You know how when the sun's out in winter in Johannesburg, it can still be quite cold, and there's a wind blowing, which makes it even colder. Hello, Grace. Nice to talk to you again this morning. You say, how do leopards climb trees? Gracie, I know you don't have a cat at home, but if you'd ever had a cat at home, you would know that they climb trees with their claws, exactly the same way that a house cat climbs a tree. They're very strong, they've got very strong arms, their claws stick into the tree and they scramble up, and that's how they're able to climb trees, Gracie. Very clever the way they're able to do that. And then you were asking about why it is that a giraffe has a black tongue. And I think from what I heard of what Brent was saying, I think he's right. A giraffe has a black tongue because it's exposed to the sun so much. So if you were to get hold of a giraffe and you were to grab its tongue and pull it all the way out, if you pulled it all the way out, you would find that only the bits that stick out of the giraffe's mouth all the time are black. The rest, the underneath bit, is pink. and that underneath bit is not exposed to the sun, and therefore it doesn't need the melanin in the body, because melanin of course makes a huge difference to protection from the sun. There's some little tiny baby carnivores in that termite mound over there. We've seen all of our carnivores on termite mounds today. These ones are very small. They're called dwarf mongoose. Look at the little dwarf mongoose. Hello, Ambrin. You want to know why it is that the mother leopard left her cubs. Remember, these are big cats, so they're called cubs, not kittens. Ambrin, you know how your mum has to go off to the shop sometimes to buy food? That's exactly what Karula, the mother's doing here. She's gone off to try and hunt, and then she'll come and fetch them, and she'll take them off to be with her. And she'll feed them, because they're not drinking milk anymore now, the little cubs. They're eating meat almost full time. Isn't that nice? These are two little dwarf mongoose. They live in a very tight-knit family in the termite mound always. And they'll just go around and see if they can find a scorpion to eat, or maybe a lizard, or maybe an egg. Sometimes they really like to have eggs. Isn't that sweet? They're tiny, you know. They're the size of a sort of a mouse, a rat, a big rat. Tiny, tiny little things. And they love the sun. After a cold night out, a dwarf mongoose loves the sun. It's his favorite thing. I think that's so sweet. Isn't that nice? All right, let's carry on. We'll just carry on round the corner here. Just going to check. I did hear squirrels shouting. Now, squirrels occur out here, a tree squirrel it's called, and they make a big noise when they see a predator. And there was a squirrel shouting around here, and maybe the predator that it saw was the mother leopard coming back. Who knows? Let's go and have a look. So we've come around the area where we saw Charlotte. She's just up ahead. Sarah, you want to know how fast we can drive in the game reserve. Sarah, not very fast. We try and keep very slow, just because it's not a good idea to drive quickly. We might not see the animals that we want to see, and we also might frighten some of the animals, and so we drive very slowly. Normally it may be a little bit faster than this, unless we think that there's an animal around, then we'll drive slowly like we're driving now. And we also, if you drive fast, you can't see what's walked on the road. So many of you will have been on a beach before, and you know that on the beach dogs leave tracks, they leave footprints where they walk. Even in your garden your dogs will do that, and so the animals out here leave their tracks on the ground. And so if we drive too fast, we don't see what's been walking on the road. And I can see, for example, here that a hyena was walking along the road. That's how we find those cubs this morning. We saw their tracks. That's how we saw them. So we really have had a very good time this morning. So you can't drive too quickly, you can't move around too much. And then a question from Oria, it sounds like. Oria, you want to know how many animals are in the Kruger. You know that's impossible to answer. And I'll tell you why it's impossible to answer. We know vaguely how many. I'm just going to stop here, because this is around about where we had the male the other leopard cub this morning. Oria, remember that animals are not only just the mammals that we see here. They're elephants, they are insects, they are birds, reptiles, they are fish even. So frogs and lizards and all sorts of things, they're all animals. And because the Kruger is so very big, it's impossible to tell how many there are. We can't even tell how many mammals there are, because there's so many different kinds of bats that we can't count. There are too many. There's thousands and thousands of impala that are very difficult to accurately count. So it's almost impossible to tell how many animals there are in the Kruger National Park. We're just going to gently sneak along here And see if we can't get another view of maybe the male cub, and maybe mum is back. Just because I heard the squirrel going. If a squirrel sees a little cub or any kind of cat, well, then they make a big noise, just like the impala did. Remember we talked about the impala alarm calling? So it is the same with the squirrels out here. But they're not making any noise now. Alright, let's go a little bit forward. And you see, oh, I didn't even see that. Yeah, thanks for the warning. That's little Charlotte, sitting in the same place as she was when we saw her earlier. You see how beautifully hidden she is? She's just sitting on top of the termite mound. I'm just going to quickly look down here. Now, a Taino, you want to know how old they are. Remember I said they're 4 months old. So they're not very old at all. They're very tiny. And I'm just scanning in the bushes here to see if I can't spot the other one. But that's the same one that we were seeing, just from a different angle. Isn't that sweet? So sweet. Virginia, you want to know why leopards have such small ears? They don't, you know. They don't have very small ears compared with us. They've got quite big ears. Your ear, let's look at my ear. My ear is quite big though. Your ear is probably about that big in relation to your head. That's the same size as that leopard's ear. That leopard's ear is probably the same size as yours, but his head is much smaller than yours. Her head is much smaller than yours. Alright, we're going to leave them. We don't like to spend time with them when their mum isn't around. It makes them a little bit scared. So we're going to carry on and leave young Princess Charlotte there, sitting on the top of her termite mound. And maybe we'll come back this afternoon and see if their mum hasn't come back. Now, all of you, I've lost my friend the caterpillar. I don't know where he's gone. You all said that he's got 8 to 16 legs. He does not. He is an insect, remember? And how many legs does an insect have? An insect only has 6 legs. Now, what I'll do is I'll draw you a picture of exactly how many legs he's got and why, and what the other things that you are mistaking for legs are. So let's stop over here. Now, I'm a very bad drawer, everybody. I'm just warning you, I'm a very, very bad drawer. So, you'll have to bear with me as I draw my caterpillar for you. Okay. Liam, can you see me here?
Yes.
I just want to quickly show you guys. Here is a hyena track. So you can see a hyena went walking along the road here. We'd never see that if we were driving very fast. Now, let's clear a bit of a space. And I will now draw you a caterpillar. But I'm a very bad drawer. Okay, here we go. Here's the caterpillar. Does that look like a caterpillar, Vim?
Or a sausage.
Or a sausage. Here's its mouth. Okay. Here's its eye. There we go. Now, on the front part of the caterpillar, it's got 6 legs here. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 on the other side. And 3 and 3 makes 6. So we'll put them here. But on the back, the ones that you are mistaking for legs are actually little suckers. And they look like this. And they look like legs, but they aren't legs. And so when this caterpillar becomes a butterfly, those suckers are gone, and that you know that a butterfly's got 6 legs because it's an insect. So when you see a caterpillar next time, and you see it moving along like this, watch my finger. You see my finger here? Or shall I do it on the dash?
Perfect.
Perfect. Remember they move like that? The 6 legs are on the front here, and on the back you've got a whole lot of little suckers. And so they've only got 6 legs, like all insects. I hope you can all draw a caterpillar better than me. I'm sure you can. I'm the worst drawer in the world. Right, let's see what else we can find out here. That might be interesting. Alright chaps, we're going to say goodbye to you. I hope you've had a nice time, girls. Go and have a good time in the wintry Johannesburg. I hope it's sunny there and not too cold. It was lovely to talk to you. And Gracie and Mia, I hope you especially have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Right, everybody in the internet, you're still with us. We've got a few more, well, we've got a decent amount of time left for the drive. My plan now is to go up towards the Bibbles of Cut Line. Just when we got to the hyena den, they all scarpered, they ran off. You saw there, if you kept watching, that female who's got the youngsters stuck her head out and was smelling the air and trying to see what was going on. And I don't know that there wasn't another predator lurking around there somewhere. Maybe Sandile, and quite possibly a lion even. I mean, those lionesses have been lurking around there for some time. So we're going to go back up in that direction and see if we can't pick something up there. I'm really sad that Brent's signal gave out at that leopard sighting, because gee whiz, to have a Mvula on a warthog kill is really special. Anyway, maybe we'll take Rusty across there this afternoon and see if he doesn't have better signal. Anyway, he is off the vehicle now. I think he's tracking something else, whatever that might be. For us, we'll just go back up towards the north of the reserve and see if we can pick up on some lion tracks. Didn't find any further tracks of Karula, so I wonder if she's not in that same block. Those older tracks that we saw heading south may have been her. I hope she doesn't kill something on Little Gari, because that will mean we don't see her for a while. Very interesting question from Newfoundland. Newfoundland, nice Twitter handle that is. You want to know, if a lion calls, will it have the danger of bringing other male coalitions into an area? The answer is yes. It could well do that. It's very easy for that to happen. But without it, I mean, if there's another male coalition within earshot, if the territorial lions don't call, well, those lions are going to come in anyway. They're going to go to wherever there's a vacuum and wherever they think they can get land most easily. So it'll have the double effect of warning male coalitions that the area is full, but at the same time, if there is a young male coalition thinking about taking over a territory, well, yes, then I guess it would attract the attentions of those males. But it's very much an advertisement. It's chest beating. It's a kind of how else can we describe it? It's an advertisement saying we're here, we're strong. Come if you like, but you'll be in big trouble. Another lovely shot there of a white-crowned shrike. Just see, and you can see the cloud moving behind them, I think. There really is quite a stiff breeze coming out of the southeast today. You see the white-crowned shrike with its feathers ruffled out. And that deep blue winter sky that we get here really is amazing. We're so lucky to have it. I think that's a young one in its first year. It doesn't look quite as big as an adult, and it's still making a slightly immature call. And we had an incredible view during the spring of last year of a little group of white-crowned shrikes in a nest. It's all quite sweet. There are 3 or 4 of them down and around here. that one standing out in the open because he wants to be warm in the sun. Very nice. On we go. Keeping an eye on the ground. And as the wind starts, of course, the elephants just disappear for some reason. Just have a look up here, Vian. I don't know how on earth that grey go-away bird and its mate managed to sit in that tree and not get completely caught out. It's a knobthorn tree, which means there are thorns all over the place. You wouldn't put your hand into that tree, let alone leap about like that bird is. I think that's unbelievable. You can't walk past a tree like that without being totally torn to pieces. Look at those vicious, vicious thorns. Ugh. And the bird is just hopping around in there. And you see monkeys even climbing in those trees. I think maybe they just take the pain better than we do. Aaron, while we're looking at a few birds, you want to know what the rarest heron species in this area is? I don't know. I suppose in this particular area it would be something like one of the night herons, a black-crowned night heron, or a white-backed night heron. They're not very common at all. Something like a dwarf bittern would also be quite rare for this area. But the rarest in terms of numbers anywhere around here, I'm not sure. Maybe a rufous-bellied heron? I'll try and find you a picture. This might make it a bit easier for you to understand. But rufous-bellied we don't get here. Karula is lurking around here somewhere, everyone. So just keep an eye out for her. Maybe she went north. Let me find all the herons for you quickly here. There don't seem to be too much else to look at right now, so let's look at the herons that we have. A heron. You'd think that after almost 10 years with this book I could just open it and there they'd be. There are all the herons, everyone. There's the dwarf bittern, which is uncommon. And that's him there, number 1. I think he might be one of the most rare. And there's the rufous-bellied over there. Also quite says it's very uncommon. So I would go with those 2 herons. Alright, let's head across to Brent Leo Smith, find out what he's been tracking on his large size 13 feet. Maybe he had some luck. And we'll head up back towards where we heard that alarming earlier on.
We've been in search of elephants, but they seem to have disappeared into an area we couldn't follow. So we've come back from Arathusa. We're on Djuma now. And I'm going to go have a quick look around where we think Sindila was last night. And it is really windy at the moment, so a lot of our general game is going to be a bit skittish and a bit scarce. So let's see if we can make it leopard number 4 this morning. Now, we've just had a South African school on drive with us. Now, our commander-in-chief, chiefs, shall I say, Emily and Graham, one of their daughters was in the class watching, as well as James's niece. How fantastic is that? Hello, Carol. I hope you're enjoying this morning's sunrise safari so far. And Carol's wondering, is Mvula bigger than a lioness? He's not. Mvula probably weighs around 75 kilograms, so 160, 70 odd pounds, maybe a little bit less, maybe a bit more, I'm not sure. But a lioness can be anything up to 150 kilograms. So 200 pounds is 90 kilograms. So, yeah, it's probably over 300 pounds. So substantial.
I don't know where Brent is driving. It sounds like he must be somewhere around Cape Town, given the amount of signal that he's had today. Anyway, you're stuck with me again. We're on quarantine clearings. We're just looking around the place here, checking the tops of the trees, and then we're heading north, just towards Galago, to see if we can't find what those hyenas were so nervous about earlier on. Let's find out. Brent seems to have found every signal black hole there is this morning, poor fellow. Definitely going to be worth taking Rusty towards where Mvula is this afternoon. Now this situation here that we see on our left hand side, where that tree has been denuded of bark by elephants, is going to become a more and more common thing as we go towards the very dry parts of the season. And although today is the winter solstice, we know that as your summer has basically only just started, so our winter, well, we've probably got another month and a half of chilly-ish weather before the heat comes, but we've got another 4 months or so before the rains, in theory, will come. So that situation where elephants resort to eating the bark of trees like that is going to become more and more apparent as the dryness of the season continues. And we will prattle on about the dryness, no doubt, and the weather, as we always do, because it is just so, it does affect our lives so much out here. It affects our sightings, it affects the animals and how they survive. Right, let's head up to the north now. Is that something on the road, Liam, or was it just a tree?
It's something square.
It does look very square to be an animal, doesn't it? I think it's a bush. Right, here we go. I should just draw you a quick map, or I'll just explain it to you. As we go up here, we're going up, if you look at the dashboard here, Vim, I'll just sort of draw it as we drive. If you look at we've got the road there that we're driving up now, and off to the right hand side another road, that's a Mvula road. And in the middle, there is a network of 4 or so drainage lines that culminate in the one that goes into the Djuma Dam. Now, in between here, it's almost impossible to drive. And so when we are looking for things around this area, we kind of do a loop, and then, you know, if you don't find any tracks or anything, then it becomes quite difficult. But you can get in from the north. So if we do find something going in that way, then we can go and have a look. They might be lucky. They might not. Of course, here's some impala, Vim. And some piggies. Look at the piggies. That's a relief. Little piggies who lost a relative perhaps to Mvula the leopard. I don't really mind on their behalf, given that Mvula deserves to eat, I think. He's put in the hard yards, as they say. Not so, Vim. Impala, perpetually nervous. Perpetually terrified of life. They have to be, I suppose. These warthogs are quite sweet. And there's the little bits of green that are left shining in the beautiful light that's descended on us for the morning. They're very peaceful, and it's so interesting, you know, the big bull warthogs tend to be that much more nervous of us. and the sounders of their sows and little babies seem to be that much more sort of confiding, happy to be around us. So there are 2 adult sows here and their youngsters, and they are highly water dependent, and so I think they're heading down towards possibly the Gallagher Pan to have a bit of a drink after their breakfast. Oh, here they come. A whole line of them. Marvellous. Oh, they've turned around and gone the other way. Go on t'other way. You can hear not a lot going on bird-wise, and that's because of the wind. They tend not to call nearly as much when there's a wind. And just here in the background, one lonely chin spot batters. And one grey go-away bird saying, "Wah, wah, 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 wah." On we go. See what else there is up ahead. Brent has signalled again for the next 3.5 seconds. Let's go across to him.
We're just bouncing through probably the bounciest road on Djuma, but we're back. And as I said, I'm going to go have a look around where we last, I think Sindile was, and right at the end of the drive last night. I had those bushbuck alarm calling. So I'm just going to have a quick look down towards the dam.
Well, there we are, 3.5 seconds, that's very nice. It was 4 seconds, well done. Rebecca, please can you try and confirm to us where Mvula was? I'm beginning to suspect he maybe not have been on the Arathusa. Wendy, I think I'm going to put a torch to when we get back. Absolute disaster. Anyway, we're actually not too far from where Brent was, and I think he's had the same idea as us. He's thinking Sindile is knocking about this area. It might not be too far from the truth. You know what? I'm going to poke our heads in here to have a look-see. Because this is the old hyena den, and there is a huge amount of hyena activity going through here. And those other hyenas scarpered so quickly today that they may have just been visiting the current den, which is, I mean, as the crow flies, only about 400 meters, 1/4 mile from here. So let's stick our heads in here and see what's going on. I do see some fresh hyena tracks around. You might find that they've moved in. And James Richard, while we drive in here hoping to find a hyena, you want to know if hyenas ever have a false estrus cycle. James, I don't think that they do. No. Now, false estrus, of course, occurs in a species where infanticide is a major risk from unrelated males. And in the case of hyenas, it's just not going to happen because the females dominate the males so completely. So were a male try to, to come along and threaten any of the youngsters, he would be very quickly dispatched. I don't see any activity here. Just thought we'd stick our heads in and have a look. I think this is the most attractive hyena den. It's got very nice shade, 2 different species of tree, 3 different species of tree, and of course it has a malachite not a malachite, a pygmy kingfisher living inside one of the holes, but not there at the moment. No, this is definitely not active, and I can tell it's not active from the fact that there just seems to be, you can see the leaves falling gently all over the termite mound. There's no kind of very fresh activity here. So I don't think the hyenas have come back this direction. So let's keep going. I think our idea, like I say, was much the same as Brent's, to go up towards the top here and see if we can't pick up on maybe Sindile. Look at this lovely tree. And I've spoken about it quite a lot before. It's a very common tree. It's called the common spikethorn, or Gymnosporia buxifolia. And it's so lovely because it has these lichens growing on it. So there we are. You can see that bit of grey there, that's a lichen. An unbelievable symbiotic relationship between algae and a fungus. And you know, it's an entirely separate kingdom of organism. So animals and plants we think of as being the only two kingdoms, and you think of a lichen being a plant. It isn't. It's an entirely separate kingdom, which I think is remarkable. Ease our way out of here. It is a little bit bumpy, so don't spill wherever you happen to be sitting. Remove your dentures. Off your heads, everybody. Round we go. Maybe we'll be lucky. I'm just going to get hold of Brent quickly. Brent, you copy? I'll open up the comms so you can hear him. Brent, what's your position?
We're to the damn wall.
Copy, what was your route there?
It went Gallagher and from Gallagher, from Gallagher short cut.
Ah, Brent, he didn't come up here.
I got his line. It's crossing the company crossing on Central before I turned.
Ah, okay, so he didn't come all the way up here. Okay, copy, thanks very much. And what's Mvula's position? I just want to find out where the leopard is.
In the Marikani, just to the southwest of Vasco Crossing.
Okay, that's really good prospect for this morning, at least this afternoon. Okay, copy, thanks. So I think we'll take a car with a decent signal and go across there this afternoon. It's a bit far for us to go to now. So he went cutting across basically where we did earlier after we'd just been at the hyena den. We're going to do a bigger loop around that way and see if something doesn't turn up there, especially on this particular little road here. Alright, let's go back across to Brent for 5 seconds. I'll see you in about 5 seconds.
Hopefully we last a little longer than last time. We're going to stay on quarantine. It's a little bit safe here from a signal point of view, but don't worry. Our tech geniuses will be on it as soon as the drive is over. Now, isn't it amazing? We started off with an almost complete cloud bank over our heads, and now we've got beautiful sunshine. Although it is still very windy and cold, I'm starting to regret taking my jacket off. I just want to have a quick squiz around quarantine. It's always possible Sindile moved through here. He has been liking this area up here. Hi, Justin. Justin would like to know, what is one thing, either good or bad, out in the bush that I'll never forget? Justin, now I've got to think. I think there's so much good, and it's so little bad. Let me think now. I think one good thing that you'll never forget out here in the bush is often the people you meet out here. And we're quite lucky in the fact that we work with an amazing team. I've been many years in the bush and worked with many teams, and never a team quite like this. We're the most different bunch of human beings who manage to get on very well, which is quite strange. I mean, I've worked in a lot of lodge environments where you have your little clique, and those are the people you hang with. Yeah, everyone just hangs out with everyone, and it's quite a special thing about Safari Live, and that's why we have so much fun doing what we do. Hey, Justin, you're probably referring a bit more to animal sightings. I mean, there's so many. I mean, can you believe on Saturday we had that incredible sighting of Shadow and Sindile reunited, possibly for the first time, we don't know. And as well as seeing Shadow's cub for the first time, that was incredible for me. I was really sort of 70-80% sure that cub was dead, and then there it was. It was a very special and beautiful moment. And one thing bad out in the bush, James Hendry's cooking. James Hendry should not cook. Occasionally we have to cook for ourselves, not too often. And what we used to do in the early days is that whoever was not driving that afternoon would deal with the cooking. And James is a very talented man, but unfortunately not in the culinary department. I haven't seen any tracks yet. Let's just have a quick look. He might have caught something in that little drainage system that we can't get a vehicle into. So no sign of young Sindile in this area, so I think he's possibly still further to the north. Unfortunately, we seem to have gremlins living in that area, so that's why we had to leave, but hopefully all sorted, and I'll definitely go have a sniff around there on the sunset safari. So I'm just listening to the game drive radio there for a second. Apparently a male lion has snuck onto Djuma, but no one can find him at the moment. Hi, Shamson. So we had a flat tire to start off our morning, and Shamson's wondering, how often do we get stuck in the bush and we need a tow? Fortunately, not too often. I have only been towed since I've been here twice. Oh, there's some tracks there. I think it's hyena, but I'm just going to double check. Yes, it is hyena. It's so wonderful, the den is back on Djuma. Very, very excited about that. Lovely to have all the Howards around. So we managed to survive more than 5 seconds this time, and it has been wonderful. Mvula, Karula's cubs, hyenas, ellies. What a fantastic sunrise safari, and always great to have my good friend James out in the other vehicle. So, well, we're going to say goodbye from Dangerous Dave and myself, and we'll see you in a few short hours for the sunset safari. But in the meantime, let's go see what James has got to say for the last few moments of drive.
I'm just looking in the shade underneath those tambuti trees there, but there's nothing there. I thought I saw maybe the tawny shape of a lioness sleeping in the shade, but I don't think I did. At least my seeing of things, i.e. my hallucinations, gave us some kind of a profit this morning. That little leopard I saw dangling from the tree this morning almost didn't check, saw the dangling shape and thought, it's probably the same as that termite mound I thought was a female leopard. Anyway, we're now on the Mvula road, and the hyena den is just down here. And I'm just going to drive carefully down this road and see if there aren't any tracks. Something coming out just for the last 5 minutes or so that we have with you. Hello Sandy, you're worried about guests visiting or tourists visiting this area and the dangers provided by camping. Well, I'm not much of a camper myself, but you're a fine camper. Have you ever heard of a tourist being torn out of a tent in the Kruger and devoured by wild animals?
Not in Kruger, but I
No.
know about a hyena pulling a case out of a tent.
Right. So it does happen. It only happens, Sandy, when people leave the doors to their tents open. It's almost entirely safe to sleep in a tent on the ground in a wildlife area if you keep the door shut. And it's often because people get so hot in the summer in those tents. You know how hot a tent gets. They open the doors at night, or they open the flaps at night, and if you are lying down and a hyena or a lion comes across you fast asleep and you're lying down, you'll be in big trouble. It's perfectly safe to do it. Absolutely safe to come camping out here. We don't have a great loss of tourists, especially in South Africa, mainly because South Africa is a bit more regulated, I think. But into Namibia and Botswana and Zimbabwe and Zambia, where you can do, places are so remote you can do what you like. You still hardly ever hear stories of people getting hurt by wild animals. So Sandy, should you wish to come camping in this area, you'd be absolutely fine, I'm sure. There's an impala. We'll close on him today, I think. Hello, Mr. Impala, as the wind starts to blow through here. It has been a very blustery day, but we've seen some pretty good stuff. Male leopard, leopard cub, couple of elephants, hyenas, and the prospect of something greater this afternoon. We're going to go home now, I think, and have some warming coffee and sit in the sun for a while. Thank you, VM, for your efforts. Very nice. Big thank you to Brent, of course. He's driving with Davey this morning. We'll see you this afternoon. Very tongue-tied today at 3:30. Until then, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Big thanks to the Final Control. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.